Hello everyone and welcome to Now You're Playing with Power, a Nintendo podcast. My name is NBZ and this, my friends, is a merry old jolly old episode 21 of our podcast. Our podcast is now old enough to go out and get a drink in the United States of America. So that's pretty great, I think. And joining me, of course, in this merriment of celebration is one Bally. How are you doing, Bally?
Good afternoon, NBZ. I'm very good, thank you. How about you?
Not too bad. I'm recovering a bit from illness, but
Too many meatballs.
Too many meatballs, I tell you what. Mostly back in commission here, so we should be ready and raring to go. And we've got a good show for you today. So without further ado, Bally, how about you lay things out for what we're going to be talking about today?
So we're going to bring you what we've been playing as normal, and then we're going to get into some of your emails, and finally we are going to wrap up the show with a segment about a recent Smash Brothers leak, and we're going to give you our thoughts and impressions, what we like about it, what we hate about it, whether we think it's real or fake, and just some general chat about kind of this period leading up to the Japanese launch of Smash Brothers.
Yeah, and we should mention that is, of course, going to be spoiler-filled, or what I would say is potential spoiler-filled. So if you are someone who is trying to stay away from that kind of stuff and do not want to be ruined on any of the official reveals that Sakurai is doing and the team is doing over at Nintendo, then do not listen to that segment because it will be full of all that nonsense. And I'd like to get that out at the beginning so that we don't have people complaining about that. So,
how do you even do that with the internet these days?
Yeah. How do you even do that?
Yeah.
That's a weird thing.
Well done to you if you're doing it, because I could never do that. But yeah.
No, it's impossible. You can't even go anywhere without seeing anything. So, in any case, let's get into the show proper. Bally, what have you been doing the past couple of weeks? What the video games have been clicking to you?
So I've been dipping back into my backlog of ambassador games. So these are obviously the GBA and the Nintendo Entertainment System games that were on the 3DS for those of us who bought the 3DS a bit early.
Basically, the I'm sorry present from Nintendo for people who spent too much money.
It was a very, very, very nice I'm sorry, because I'm enjoying all those games thoroughly. And that
definitely.
game that I've been playing is Mario Advance 3, which is Yoshi's Island.
And this is not the Super Nintendo version,
No.
Of course. It's the GBA one. And a lot of people I've heard say this isn't a particularly great version of the game because the screen is shrunk and you don't have the full kind of view of what's going on. How do you feel about? I know you really haven't had a chance to play the Super Nintendo version. Did you think that was something that was an issue at all?
Basically, by the fact that I've not played the Super Nintendo version, it really didn't affect me at all. And I would also add that I think that the Game Boy Advance version has 6 extra levels, or there's something else that they added. I'm not quite sure. I tried to look it up online, but it's actually quite difficult, seeing as it's quite an old game. This is the remake I've been playing is from 2002.
Okay,
and the original is 1995.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah. I have really mixed opinions on this game, really. Let's start with the good. So the good, I think this artistically and musically is the best 2D platformer I've ever played. I think.
Wow, that's very strong words there.
I would this is even going to be even stronger, but in terms of the art style and the way they carry it out and the world creation, I think that sort of cutesy. How do you even describe the art style? It's like pastels, colored pastels.
Yeah, it is. I mean, especially in terms of the background stuff. You have these really bright, colorful sprite in the foreground, but the backgrounds are all very kind of chalk and pastel.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I would rate that art style right up there with the Wind Waker and the cel shaded thing they went for, because I honestly think that this adds so much to the game. It makes it look so beautiful, and it's really appealing to just pick up and play just for the visual art style, and that ties in so well with the music, which is, I know that the more recent Yoshi games, especially the Yoshi's New Island on 3DS, got completely hammered for some of its musical elements as well as its visual style. So I think that this game just really does those musical and visual elements really well.
Yeah, and I think that's something really interesting about the time this game originally came out in, is because, Yoshi's Island 3 was really a response from Miyamoto towards the Donkey Kong Country games, because, those were going in a very different direction artistically, where they were relying on the Super FX chip to do things which made the models look more 3D. And of course, that game has aged horribly in this day and age, looks absolutely atrocious. And he really wanted to focus on a much different approach. And, there are super effects elements in this game, like the things that fall towards the ground and those kind of things.
Yeah.
So it's really fascinating to
I mean,
think about it
if
in
I
that
had
light.
if I had picked up this game in 1995, I would have. I mean, even as it was, I was pretty blown away by the visuals, and I think they're really great visuals. But in 1995, this game must have looked so good. Like, I know that they might have done little things visually between the original and the GBA remake, but it just looks so great. Um, now I guess on to more of the negatives. The biggest issue I have with this game is I just don't like the way that Yoshi platforms. He feels. I mean, I'm very used to this sort of Mario, Wario feeling of platforming, which I guess is hard to describe, but it's quite basic. It's you feel weighty, you jump up, you come down, you can control your jump quite a lot, and really Yoshi, you jump. He feels quite light,
Well, he's
but
very floaty. Like, that's his nature as a character. Is he literally is a floaty character?
exactly. So he feels floaty, but then when that floatiness ends, he feels like he just comes down to the floor so hard and fast.
Right.
And I don't. It's really hard to describe in a podcast without visually representing it.
Well, I think what you're trying to get at is that, Mario as a platformer is very tight.
Hmm.
Those controls are extremely nuanced, and you have a good degree of actual control over what you're doing and where you're moving and everything, and the precise implementation of the jump and everything. I think that with Yoshi, you do have that wiggle room, which means that you don't have as much area for maneuver and things like that. I think what is cool about it is that it allows you to save yourself from mistakes at points, because if you're Mario and you miss a jump, you're falling down the pit no matter what. Whereas if you fluff something as Yoshi, I think maybe with the hover mechanic you can kind of get past it. Falling off something, maybe you can still save yourself. But aside from that, and being able to do that, it does offer less degree of control.
Yeah,
I feel like,
and
honestly.
I mean, maybe I'm being harsh because it was something I got used to quite quickly, and that is something the game does well. Is that the first few worlds are very easy, and the bosses aren't overly challenging, and by the time you're entering elements where there's platforms flying all over the place and the bosses do get a bit more challenging, I think you've played enough of the game and the difficulty ramps up suitably to the point where you feel comfortable with the game. So that is something it does really well. I would say that something like the level designs they're good, but I think a game like Wario Land does it better. In the way that you traverse the stage, you come back to elements of earlier in the stage and unlock doors and stuff like that. I think Wario does that slightly better. I wouldn't really compare that to Mario because Mario is very much 2D Mario games are very much A to B, hardly any backtracking, if any at all. And you're obviously timed. So this game similar to Wario has got quite a bit more exploration, which is nice, but I just don't think the levels are quite as sleekly and perfected as Wario.
Yeah, well, I feel like that's something with the Yoshi Island. This Yoshi's Island game in particular is the
Mario
explora-
Advance 3.
Yeah, what God, the naming conventions can literally
I
go
could
fuck
I could
themselves.
name the all four Mario Advances to you if you wanted to explain which one's which.
No, look, I'm quite all right, honestly. I think I'm fine without that. Um, but yeah, I do feel like there's not a huge amount of backtracking in this game, unless you want to. I mean, the only sense of backtracking is you're going back through the levels to find the collectibles you've missed before, right? But not in the actual midst of the level. You're usually going
I
back, are you?
I would say you are. I mean, how much of the game would you say you've played? Because I'd say that later in the game, there's a lot more backtracking for keys and
Oh,
things, and
really?
there are actual doors that need unlocked.
So there are
So
more kind of Metroidy elements thrown in there
yeah,
than
in
you're
some degree, there's a lot of caves, and the
sure.
caves are layered in a similar way to Metroid, I guess you could say. But yeah. I mean, have you? How much of this game have you played? Because obviously you're a Nintendo ambassador like myself.
Yeah, I see. I'm very much on the Yoshi. I'm on the Jeff Gerstmann hate train for fuck Yoshi, man. Um, Not to that degree, of course, but I'm not a huge fan of Yoshi's Island. I've played the first couple of worlds. I have a really weird problem with Yoshi's Island that I don't think a lot of.
This is hilarious, by the way. For everyone, everyone get ready. This is pretty funny.
It's not funny. It's just okay. So Yoshi's Island makes me physically sick. That's that's not me being insultive to the game and that like, oh man, this game makes me want to vomit. No, this game literally makes me feel like being sick, like some people get motion sickness in first person games. There are moments when you're going from open areas to, those covered up areas which it transitions to, right? So it's hard to explain. You know what I mean, Bali? Is there are like caves? You go from the outside into a cave area, and then you go out again. It happens a lot in one of the very
The
early
camera
levels.
moves around Yoshi rather it like pans
Yeah, it pans
almost,
and it
yeah.
takes like more time than it should do to make sense
Yeah.
in my brain, and it's so jarring that it makes me not want to play those levels because it makes me feel ill when you move in and out of those
Uh,
areas. So I just get into this thing where I'm just literally turned off the game for being unable to wanting to play it because it just makes me feel sick. And I have a similar thing with a game called Unfinished Swan on PlayStation 3, which is a first-person game, but you don't have like a gun in front of you or anything. You're shooting paint out, and everywhere is white, so you're basically painting the area as you go. And that game, like, I just felt so ill playing it that it was like crippling. I would play it for 20 minutes and then like have to look away and like lie down on my bed and trying to like shake myself back into reality
oh my
because it would
God.
had such a horrible effect of like making me really feel sick. So I do have that happen to me at points in
Well,
time.
as someone who doesn't experience motion sickness on anything, whether it's
No.
roller coasters, cars, planes, video games, um, I'm very privileged to say that I finished the game without any barfing.
Yeah.
I should also say I actually owned the original, not the original, but the original of this game back in 2002 on the Game Boy Advance. And back then, when I was a gamer who never completed anything, I got up to maybe World 4. So now, having played it through over the last couple of weeks and actually have completed it, I can honestly say that like I love the cutesy ideas of it. So this I'm gonna sound like an absolute 5-year-old right now,
Okay.
but the story is really charming. Like the
Okay.
idea that the stork gets knocked out of the sky by Kamek, baby Luigi gets stolen away, and Yoshi unites with his fellow Yoshis on Yoshi Island with baby Mario on his back to create this relay team around the island to find Kamek and find baby Luigi, and it's just a really nice story because when you get to the very end, you think, oh, who's the final boss going to be? Well, we've got Baby Mario, we've got Baby Luigi. Of course, the final boss is going to be Baby Bowser, or as they call him, Bowser Jr. So I do think that the end game and the final boss with Bowser Jr. is actually a really, really interesting fight because you've got the normal first stage of this battle where it's regular 2D platforming. You jump on him, then you ground pound, you jump on him, ground pound, blah de blah. Then Kamek puts a spell on him, and he grows into a ridiculous size. I don't know if you know this boss battle, MBZ.
No, I think I've seen it
I
before in an LP, but I've
I
kind of
was gonna
forgotten
say
it.
I would highly recommend you just watch for a few minutes of it on an LP online somewhere because
Sure.
Bowser Jr. takes up. You're outside on the castle. Not it's not even a castle. I think you're just on some rocks basically, and he is in the background walking towards you.
Oh, right. Yeah,
And
I do remember this
oh
now.
right,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah.
Because and as he gets closer towards you, he's more in range of your eggs. Because in this level, special eggs float over, and you collect these massive eggs, and you're actually throwing the eggs into the background.
Yeah.
And the physics and the way that you're throwing the eggs from the foreground into the background is just so impressive for this game. And I mean, I've said it already, but 1995, that would have blown my mind. As it is, I think it's a fantastic mechanic to just introduce right at the end of the game. And there's an amazing ending because, okay, so when you defeat him, you go back, you go to the castle, and then you see the stork all tied up, and then there's just a sack tied up as well next to the stork that has baby Luigi in it. And then you deliver baby Luigi and baby Mario back to their parents. I mean, it'd be really interesting if one day they reveal who Mario's parents are.
Sure.
But some random Italian plumbers, or just
Yeah,
some random Italians maybe. But
yeah.
yeah, it's just a really nice ending to the game. And I mean, you do unlock loads of extra levels that I've not done yet. And I think those are the extra levels you get on the Game Boy Advance version, but I'm not 100% sure. And then you can obviously go back and get all the coins and flowers throughout the whole game, and you unlock a secret ending, which I'm not really prepared to do. But one day, you never know. But I mean, overall, just a seriously charming game with a few platforming elements, but overall it hangs together. And like I said, the music and the visual art style is incredible.
Okay. Well, that's good. It's a solid,
Well,
solid
that was a
classic.
rant, but anyway,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's a.
loved it.
You seem to be, on the streak of just going through all these games that are highly revered by many people. So, it's not too bad. It's not too bad to dip into those. I have been doing a somewhat similar thing. With two games of a similar ilk, both platformers, both classic games, both very much using save states in my experience with them. So I've been playing Wario Land 2 on Game Boy on Virtual Console, and also Mega Man 2 on my Wii U for the NES Virtual Console. So I guess I'll start with Wario Land. So you've talked, of course, on the podcast before about Wario Land 4, and I recently picked up Shake Dimension for Wii. Both of us, pretty positive on those games. And
I really
think
want to try out Shake Dimension. I'm very keen on that.
yeah, yeah, and that's something I'm going to be going through in the next week or a couple of weeks, hopefully. So you'll hear my impressions. But Wario Land 2, I feel, is quite different. I think it's kind of the black sheep, as it were, of the Wario Land family, because it does some very weird stuff. So, first of all, this game has a strange mechanic wherein Wario can't die. Wario is invincible, and there is no health bar.
Can he fall down pits?
No, there are no pits to fall down. Wario is invincible. He can't be hurt by enemies. I mean, he can be hurt by enemies, but essentially what happens is when you take damage, you lose money, right? You lose coins, which are, of course, the lifeblood of the game. That is what everything is based around. Wario is a greedy, treasure-grubbing, stupid, whatever. He goes after money. He wants money. Money is his life and his breath and everything that he sees before him. So he loses money if he gets hit. But he doesn't lose life. He doesn't lose any health. And this is rather strange, because what it essentially means is that the game turns from a action platformer into much more of a puzzle platformer, wherein the levels don't necessarily involve you trying to get from A to B. They involve kind of, figuring things out, unlocking doors and opening areas, I guess, to get from A to B, but it happens in a more roundabout way. Like, you're not going on a straight linear path. It's more going through rooms and areas that are interlinked, and trying to find your way that way. So there's none of the time stuff from Wario Land 4 going through and coming back. There's none of the health bar. There's none of that stuff, and it makes for a really strange kind of experience.
So it's just A to B.
Yeah.
And it's A to B, and you don't want to hit anything because you'll lose money.
Well, I mean, sure, but the thing is
the money only the high score?
Yeah,
Or
well,
do you need the money to unlock the next level?
right. So it works in a few ways. The money is, I guess, how you're scored, but it's also how you unlock treasures. So there are a couple of different mini games. There's one every time you beat a level, you get a mini game where you have to basically guess a number. So it'll be like a panel game where they'll reveal one panel, and you have to choose from numbers 1 to 9 to guess what is hidden behind the 6 panels. And you can pay money to open up another panel, pay money to open up another panel, and it will slowly reveal more of the number. And you can then make your guess as to what it is, and that will, in consequence, give you a piece of a grand kind of puzzle down below that when you complete it all, I guess you unlock some fancy thing. The trouble I have with it is I don't care. Like, I literally do not care about this puzzle. It doesn't have any bearing on me. I don't really know what it will do for me. The game never makes it explicit what that is, what the purpose of it is, and why I should care about it. So, in all honesty, losing money is not a big deal. So, I feel the problem I have is that I feel like there are no stakes. Like, there's nothing to be worried about or scared of, and a lot of the time you're just trying to figure out what to do without worrying about being hit or falling or anything to that effect. And it just makes the game really weird.
Does it make it easy then if you're never worrying about dying and you're just getting from A to B, and you don't obviously, like you've just suggested, care about losing money? So does it just become a bit monotonous, or are the puzzles so complex that it's actually just an entirely different game?
I think that it does become somewhat monotonous. However, the puzzles do add a degree of challenge. Like, it takes a lot of kind of searching and thinking to get from one area to the other. And so that's where you're kind of spending the bulk of your time. But I don't really find it satisfying, honestly. Like, there's not really any reward aside from getting to the end and being like, yay, I guess I did it. Like,
Have you finished it? Was it a particularly long game?
yeah, I did finish it, and the interesting thing is that once you get to the end, it then shows you like this massive chart, like a family tree of the levels that you've gone through. And essentially, there are many more levels in this game than I have actually played, having already beaten it. But what you can do is you can go back into it and gain secret treasures within the level, which will then unlock another branching path that will go to another level. However, your first time through the game, it doesn't tell you this at all. You have no idea. And so when you finish it, you're like, huh, well, I guess if I'd gone after these treasures, then maybe I could have opened up this other area to go to this level and then done that. But, I got to the end of the game and I was like, you know what? I'm done. I literally, I don't care to go back through it because I didn't find it all that fun. It's unfortunate because I think that Wario Land 1 was really great. It had some really cool, interesting elements to it, and it totally, set itself apart from, Super Mario Land 2, which was the game that came before it, and I believe it was the same team who worked on it. And it just feels like a bit of a disappointment, honestly. And the idea of me talking about save states before opening up the segment on the games I've been playing is I really needed to use them, specifically on the bosses, because usually in any game when you're fighting a boss, if you die, then hey, it's okay, you just start again and you go and fight the boss. It's fine, right? There's no problem. You just lose all your health and you have another go at it. In this game, if you make one single mistake on any given boss, they always have an element which, if they hit you with it, it will throw you off the screen, and you'll have to go back through like a couple of rooms and get back to the boss and start the boss from the beginning again. So, what this means is that you can basically mess up on the first stage and get thrown out and have to go back to the beginning again. You can mess up on the last stage of the boss, thrown out, go back and it is more infuriating than dying. It is worse than dying.
But at least you can't die, right?
No! It fucking sucks! It's worse than dying! It's horrible! It's really annoying! Which is why I was, I usually never ever do this, but I was making save states mid-boss battle. In the middle of the boss fight, I was making save states because I'd gotten past one phase, and I didn't know what the fuck the next phase was, because it was probably going to throw me off the stage again. So I was like, look, I'm done. I just scum save my way through this game. I don't give a shit. I just want to be done with it. And I did. That's what I did, and I finished it, and look.
So there's other Wario games that you prefer to this one.
I think that is an understatement.
Okay.
Yeah,
and there's
definitely.
hopefully platformers you've played that are worse than this one.
Probably. I don't know. It just didn't really do anything for me. I think there are some people who would find it interesting, and there are some definitely cool things about it. Like some of the bosses are just wacky and weird. Like one of them is a bunny rabbit who's playing basketball, and you're essentially having a 3-point contest with the bunny rabbit. So if the bunny rabbit jumps on Wario, he turns into a basketball. The bunny rabbit grabs Wario and scores a point with him. That's how you do damage to the boss. It's scoring points, turning the bunny rabbit into a basketball. So you essentially have to jump on his head, dribble him, and throw him in the... Like, it's so dumb. It's super dumb, and it's kind of really interesting in that way that it does those kind of things, but the rest of the mechanics and the rest of the game just leave me feeling not so great, honestly.
Is it longer or a shorter game than the other Warriors you've played?
I say it's similar in length, honestly. But I mean, that's just...
So like 8 hours?
Yeah, that's maybe more close to 5 or 6, okay. But that's just kind of mainlining it. Like, that's just not even bothering about any of the treasures or trying to unlock the extra levels. There's probably half a game in there that I haven't approached, but I'm really not bothered about it, and it wasn't really, making me enjoy the game, and so I'm just gonna leave it. I'll leave it at that. I've played it. It's there, so it's a curiosity. If we're interested in going through all the Wario Land games, it's definitely the black sheep, and I guess it kind of fits into that theme, 2, Wario Land 2, you got Zelda 2, which is weird, Mario 2's weird, Metroid 2's, like, all the 2's in the series seem to be the black sheep of the family, and I think that Wario Land is no exception in that case. The other game I've been playing is much happier news for me, which is Mega Man 2. Definitely not the black sheep of this family. Oh man, this is a radiant...
The golden sheep.
This is the golden goat held up on high of Mega Man games. Mega Man 2 is fucking fantastic. I've been waiting to play it for a really long time, and basically what happened this past week is there was this really cool Smash Brothers sale that happened where...
Still on?
Yeah, it's still on. The second half of it's going on. This is only in Europe, I believe, actually, at the moment.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think it's in the US. It's only in Europe.
Lucky Europeans, honestly.
Yeah, we're so great. We're amazing. So this was going on, and essentially all the Mega Man games were 50% off. Mega Man 1 through 6, 50% off, which means they went down to £1.74, which is an utter steal. Like, that is such a bargain for
and 1 through 6 are all on the NES, right?
Yeah, they're all on the NES.
Yeah.
So I got that. I picked up Mega Man 2 and 3. I had £5 of credit in my eShop wallet, so I was ready to go, man. I didn't even have to spend any money on it. That £5 is actually a carryover from my Wind Waker bonus free game with Mario Kart 8. So essentially, this is still bleed over from Mario Kart 8. Because essentially with the Digital Deluxe program, I had enough points where I got extra $5, and I'm using that to buy Mega Man. So, thanks Mario Kart 8. You're still helping me even now. So yeah, Mega Man 2 is, like, I don't know how much I really need to talk about it because it's been talked to death by so many people on so many podcasts and, over the years. And it's just one of those classics. It's one of those games that will never get old. It's so solid mechanically. It's so fun. It's so tight. The levels are so memorable. The bosses are so memorable. And though it starts out kind of easy, in my opinion, like, it gets really, really hard. It gets so tough at the end. And there were points at which I was like, wow, even with save states, I might not be able to beat this game. It was kind of getting down to the line there. But I did push through, and whew, the last couple of bosses, the last couple of levels, really testing. I salute anyone who back in the day played through this on NES to completion, because, back then there was no saves or anything. So if you had beaten all the Robot Masters, you were on Wily's Castle and you're going through and your mom's like, hey, dinner's on, and you have to switch off the NES, well, bad luck. You're going to have to start from the beginning again after dinner.
They're not passwords.
I think, actually, you know what? There are passwords, so that is a thing. I think that's what they used as a system. Obviously, I wasn't paying attention to those because I have, the Virtual Console and the Luxury. But that's true. I forgot about that. Passwords are a thing. Even with passwords, some of these stages are ludicrous, man. Some of them are just so tough, but there is a satisfaction to the challenge there, and I think that's what differentiates this from so many other kind of difficult games of that era. Is it is challenging, but it's fair in that challenge a lot of the times, and it does give you kind of the opportunity to get through it, and you just need to concentrate. You just need to be focused and get down to it, and really put in the time.
And you
So,
actually
yeah.
got me this game a long time ago,
I did
and
indeed.
I paid the 99p to move it from my Wii to my Wii U.
Yep.
And it's definitely a game I need to play because I mean you've played so many hours of the game I own on my Wii U that I feel like I should really play this game.
Yeah,
And
and it's actually really short. Like
yeah,
I was basically I was ill the last couple of days, and I sat playing this.
ew.
Yeah, no, I was really.
That's
I
better play Mega Man 2.
well, I have nothing else to do, right?
Makes everyone feel better.
And I played it all on the gamepad actually. I didn't have my Pro controller; it's back home. So I was playing it all on the gamepad, and I wasn't using the TV. I was just using the built-in screen, and it worked perfectly. It worked perfectly fine. And I actually thought that the controls were no trouble. I didn't have any issue there. So if you were thinking about doing that, then that's still a good option. There's no real negative to it. But I did it in 2 sessions. Like I beat 6 of the Robot Masters one day, and then the next day I sat there for like an hour and a half, and I beat the last 2, and then went all the way through Wily's Castle right to the final boss, who is just so tough. Like a solid 25 minutes of reloading saves to beat that guy. But man, beating him in the end, so satisfying, and yeah, I finished it, closed it out.
And are you gonna move on to 1, 3, 4, 5, 6?
Oh, I don't know about 1. What a lot of people say 1 is really unbalanced and doesn't have a good curve difficulty-wise, and just isn't as well designed as the others. But 3, obviously, I've bought already, so I'm going to move on to that at some point. And then, yeah, maybe later down the line, 4, 5, and 6 might, tempt me, because I'm always up for more Mega Man, and these games are quite short, so having more around is always a good thing, and
It's
I'm totally
incredible
down.
that there's 6 of them on one system.
I mean, we talk about sequelitis these days, right? It's like, oh, Call of Duty every year, Assassin's Creed. Like, there were points at which I guess there were 2 Mega Mans in a single year, maybe at some juncture, which is just nuts to think about. But
You know, someone could take over Capcom and we could get back to those days.
yeah, maybe Nintendo, maybe just buy Capcom. No, well, that could be interesting. They're doing the best stuff with Mega Man at the moment. Smash Brothers is knocking it out of the park with the fan service on that end. So, if it were ever to be in better hands, then I think Nintendo is pretty good hands to throw that franchise to. In any case, yeah, that's pretty much me. I finished Mega Man 2, and I feel really accomplished for doing that, because it's so hard and it's a classic. So we've both beaten classics this week, and I think that we should start moving on to some other stuff. So that is going to close out our segment of what we have been playing. We have some emails from you, and we're going to get to those after this break, so don't go anywhere. We shall be right back. And we are back once again for the second segment of our show, in which we answer some emails. And those emails can be sent by you, the the person who's listening to this podcast, to our email address, which Bally shall now detail for you in some detail.
NYPPQuestions@gmail.com.
And we have some good stuff. We are, of course, always needing some more, and we're probably going to run through quite some emails. So do keep sending those our way. We need to fill up the mailbag, and it's always useful. So without further ado, Bally, you have the first question.
So the first email. Hi MBZ and Bally, it's me, Luis. Again, this time I have a pretty obscure and weird question. If Nintendo for some reason made a Super Smash Bros. Movie, what actor would you cast for some of the characters? I personally would cast Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as Captain Falcon. Thank you very much for the awesome podcast.
I love this question because it's so dumb. Like this keeps in context with Smash Brothers in general because it's dumb and stupid, and I like just the idea of a Smash Brothers movie makes me really happy. Who would you cast as some roles, Bally? What are you thinking here?
I would think, now this is maybe the whole Legolas thing going on, but Orlando Bloom just has a Link face. Just look at his face. You could just be Link. Why not?
I think he would. And the funny thing is that Link, doesn't speak in any of the games. So
yes.
you'd have to think that Orlando Bloom, as great as his voice acting talents may be, is not going to be able to use his voice for any of that, unfortunately. But he looks the part.
Yeah, and I mean Legolas doesn't have the greatest number of lines you've ever seen in Lord of the Rings, so
no, that's true.
That's true. Silent protagonist.
He already has the bow stuff under wraps, so
yeah, exactly.
He'd be pretty good. Earlier you suggested Liam Neeson as Ganondorf, which I thought was that was a pretty good one. What were your reasons behind that, Bally? What do you think?
It's just sort of intimidating and that sort of. The whole Taken idea of talking to Link like, I will find you and I will kill you, sort of,
and I will take the Triforce of power.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, he is more these days known for those kind of roles, like the super action hero. And to see him play the villain would be pretty interesting, definitely. See him as Gandalf.
And he's the villain in Batman as well, so...
Oh, he does, yeah, he plays Ra's al Ghul. Yeah, indeed, that's true. He does have that kind of thing.
I mean, if you have his worldview in that film, I guess he's the good guy, but maybe that's a bit controversial,
Well, you can always take that perspective.
Take
Ganondorf's perspective. All he wants to do
is have order under him.
Exactly. Right, exactly. All he wants to do is be the sole male in a race of females, that's it. That's all he wants, doesn't need much as a man of the Gerudo.
So who is your actor or actress in these?
I think Scarlett Johansson as Samus is a good pick.
Oh
that's a pretty solid one.
Yeah, does the whole
she
tight
has a kind
lycra thing. Yeah.
Right, exactly. She could put on the Zero Suit, that would work. And I think that in films like the Avengers, she has that kind of action capability to her. So that's a good pick. Other ones it's kind of tough to think. Like you're thinking like who would play like Bowser, because you would imagine it would be CGI'd, right?
Yeah.
To some degree. So maybe like Andy Serkis. He has experience doing King Kong. I think Andy Serkis would certainly be a great person to do Donkey Kong and Bowser as well. I think that he'd step into those roles pretty nicely.
He also plays Caesar in Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, I think Andy Serkis would actually be perfect for Donkey Kong. So I would totally cast him.
We're getting really in depth now.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. But there's some good ones, definitely. I'd have to sit and think about it a bit more, but those are the ones that come to the top of my head straight away. I would love to see something like that. It would be the dumbest, most stupid thing in the world, but it would be fantastic. So. Hopefully one day a Smash Brothers movie can be a thing.
One day. So our next email is from Johnny. Hey guys, really enjoying the podcast. Please keep it up. I found the music section thoroughly entertaining, even if I only got 2 out of 5. My question to you fine gentlemen is, if you could choose one game franchise to be turned into an RPG a la Super Mario RPG, Paper Mario, etc., which franchise would you pick and why? It doesn't have to be a Nintendo franchise, and also I will accept a standalone game as opposed to a series. P.S. MBZ, bet not get cheeky and pick Fire Emblem. I consider that to be an RPG.
Well, it is an RPG, so...
Okay.
Bally? Anywhere do you want to jump to?
I'm worried that I'm just stealing the one you suggested earlier,
No,
and
it's fine.
but we were talking about this would be Zelda would be a great one,
Yeah.
and it already has certain RPG elements, and it wouldn't perhaps take as much change as you might think, and would still keep a lot of the elements that Zelda already has. Other than that, I don't know. I mean, what if they had like some sort of level up system within a game like F-Zero, and you could like level up parts, put them together, and there'd be more emphasis on your ship is more like a Pokemon basically. You're effectively giving it certain attributes and entering races and tournaments or something like that. I don't know. That's just a really random one out there in the cold.
No, I actually was going to suggest F-Zero, mainly because I'm not a fan of racing games to the same degree as you are, so that you would do a full conversion on it and make it a straight up RPG where you use cars to battle other cars in races, like physically, like a turn-based action system.
Yeah.
I think that would be pretty hilarious, and it would be something completely different. No, I don't think anyone's really done a car-based RPG or a vehicle-based RPG, so I think that would be a good pick. I think Zelda's just an easy one to go with, just because the fantasy setting, it's something that a lot of people can easily attach to, and so many RPGs are set in that kind of world anyway that it makes sense for you to kind of just drop in there and be like, hey, this works. The cool thing about like the Mario RPGs, Paper Mario and Mario and Luigi is they stick to their own franchise really well, but and they don't kind of go off into trying to be Final Fantasy or anything else, and they do some nice things there. So I think that if you took any Nintendo franchise and turned it into an RPG, they could keep that kind of style going, and it would still retain its personality without changing too much.
But I think it's highly unrealistic that Nintendo. I mean, we have just talked about Nintendo and not other game franchises just now, but I think it would be unrealistic for them to change an existing IP into an RPG. But I mean, you never know. They turned Zelda into Dynasty Warriors, so anything goes, I guess.
At this point, literally anything goes.
Exactly.
So it doesn't matter. It's happening. Things will happen. So, in any case.
So our next email then. Hello, MBZ and Bally. This is Bert, aka It's Yeti Time on Twitter from Virginia, United States. Love the podcast. Please keep it up. Here are a few questions I have been pondering and would like to hear your thoughts. I recently played around with and enjoyed some Paper Mario games and was wondering about your thoughts on the franchise. I can't recall if either of you have mentioned playing it. Additionally, do you think Paper Mario could ever be a Smash character, or would he just be another clone clogging up the cast? I mostly ask because Toon Link could be seen as a similar idea. If not a character, could the series spawn some interesting assist trophies? I hope this wasn't too long. Thanks for reading.
So I have played a game in the Paper Mario series. I'm pretty familiar with it, just from watching a couple of LPs. I've watched an LP of the first and second game, so that's the N64 and GameCube one. I've never seen the Wii game before, and I've heard that it is kind of the black sheep of the family as it comes to those RPGs. It seems to be more of platformer focused and kind of releases some of the more RPG tendencies. But I played Sticker Star on 3DS, and it was a lot of fun. I think it has a huge amount of issues, but like from a visual standpoint, that art style, it's so nice in 3D. It is absolutely beautiful, and to use the whole stereoscopic thing with paper just works magnificently. It's a real sight to behold. So if you haven't played that one, I would say if you can find it cheap, just play it for the visuals alone. It's a lot of fun. But the problem with it is you really need to be using a guide because it's very obtuse about how the mechanics work. The way things act in that game is you don't have items, you don't have weapons, you don't really have anything. Like, even if you want to do a standard jump attack on an enemy, you have to have a sticker for it. Stickers control everything, and the problem is that they're limited, and that there are so many of them that sometimes you don't know what to do. So you'll be tossed into a boss battle, and you'll be like, I have these special stickers. Do I use them on this turn? Is this even going to be effective on this boss? If I use it once, it'll be wasted. So The problem is that they require you to use very specific stickers at very specific points, and they never make it clear enough. So if you really want to get through the game, you have to sit there with an FAQ for some of the later stuff. And earlier on it's a bit better, but it does get a little bit tough towards the last stages of the game. But otherwise, apart from that, like it's super cool and I like it, and it's funny and all that good stuff. Bally, I know you've never played one before.
I've never played a Paper Mario game, I'm afraid.
Or any of the Mario RPGs for that.
Or any of the Mario RPGs. I do want to try a Mario RPG at some point. I don't know whether it would be the Mario and Luigi or Paper Mario, and also what system to play it on. But I think you would probably recommend the GBA one, maybe, I'm guessing. I don't know.
I mean, at the moment, that's definitely the most accessible one for you, is the Wii U Virtual Console has Superstar Saga, which is the first GBA Mario and Luigi RPG, and a lot of people consider that one to be the best of the bunch. So I would say that's definitely a good one. If you wanted to start using Wii Mode again on your Wii, until of course they bring N64 support to the Wii U Virtual Console, the first Paper Mario is on the Wii Virtual Console, so that's another one.
Will that ever happen though?
Yes, I mean it has to. Come on. I mean GameCube is the one thing that we're up in the air about. N64 has to happen. That's a blanket. Just come on, get your shit together, guys. We've been waiting long enough.
I hope so.
Yeah. So yeah, but I'm generally a fan of Paper Mario. I would personally like to go back and play some of the older games myself and dip back into them. But in terms of Smash, we are going to, of course, discuss this in a bit more detail later on about the leaks and stuff and the idea of clones. But I personally think that Paper Mario is distinct enough that he would be a much more unique character as opposed to someone like Toon Link, because he has things like his hammer and he can turn into different objects by using the paper. He has a lot of companions that join him along on his adventure, so he could use those guys for some of the stuff. So honestly, if Paper Mario was introduced as a Smash character, I think he would stand alone pretty well. Bali, you were asking whether he would be a Mario costume or whether that would be feasible.
Yeah,
but
I mean, when I suggested he could be a Mario costume, I completely forgot that like Link and Toon Link are basically, well, they're not costumes, but they have the same moves but with different weights and stuff like that. So I think the comparison to Toon Link is a better suggestion, perhaps, than just a costume. I think it's incredibly likely he will be in the game, actually, just based on the fact that he's already got a stage, so there's
right, the 3DS version of Smash has a stage from Sticker Star in it.
Yeah, so I mean the stages previously that have existed without actual characters from those games have been few and far between. One I can think of is Electroplankton.
Right.
Now having an Electroplankton as a playable character seems crazy. I mean, obviously crazy is what Smash Brothers does, but they obviously drew a line at Electroplankton. So the idea that what I'm trying to say is that Paper Mario is completely different to Electroplankton in that he is an actual character with moves and ideas that could work as a standalone character.
Yeah,
with
never
moves
been
independent of Mario, I should say.
Yeah, and he's never really been represented before in the Smash cast because, like, there may have been trophies. Yeah, there may have been trophies, but Paper Mario is a staple kind of secondary feature. And, back in Melee, they had Dr. Mario, and, I mean, he makes some sense because he did have his own games and stuff, but he didn't have any kind of uniqueness about him. He was just chucking pills as opposed to fireballs, really, and there wasn't too much of a difference to it. Paper Mario is far more unique, and definitely he's shorter. He has there's different height, there's different speeds to be involved, and he would just play altogether different. So yeah, I think that he would be a really fantastic addition.
Do you think it's quite likely?
I don't know. It's potential. I think maybe if anything, a DLC character maybe down the line, if that even happens. But it's that they have sown the seeds by having the stage.
But you have a theory about that I'm sure you'll explain.
Yeah, I will
later,
elaborate on when we talk about the leaks and everything. But But yeah, I think that is something. And of course, he asks whether the series would spawn some interesting assist trophies. If nothing else, that's definitely going to be in there. There will be assist trophies representing the Paper Mario franchise, I'm sure, especially having the stage there. Kind of lend some credence to that. So hopefully, we'll see.
So our next email is from Alton, who's from Ireland. I've had a 3DS for almost a year and I want to play some games, but I've never got into many series that are out for the 3DS. I've only ever played Mario Bros, Mario Kart, and Pokemon games really, and a couple of Sonic games. I'm planning to get Ocarina of Time 3D soon, having never played a Zelda game before. But my question is, are there any games from a series on 3DS you would or wouldn't recommend? Either to start with, either because the story or the games are impossible to understand or they're just bad entries in the series. E.g., I felt New Super Mario Bros. 2 was a decent game but wasn't actually worth spending money on. I regret buying it after playing through it. Also, is Mario Kart 7 worth getting now? Some games I have considered getting in the future are Kingdom of Hearts 3D, Fire Emblem Awakening, and Super Smash Bros. 3DS, although I've never understood what is actually going on in Super Smash Bros. From seeing gameplay of it.
Well, any newcomer to Smash would have trouble, I'll tell you what, trying to discern what the hell happens in a Smash Brothers game before playing one. So, yeah, this is a good question here. I do apologize that you bought Mario 2, New Super Mario Brothers 2, because I feel your pain. That game is unfortunate and definitely not worth the money that you spent on it. But he does ask whether Mario Kart 7 is worth getting at this point. The question I'd ask Alton is whether he has a Wii U and access to Mario Kart 8, because if the answer is no, then Mario Kart 7 is most certainly a worthwhile investment. It's personally my favorite Mario Kart and is a really solid game. So I would say it's definitely a good one to do. And there's still loads of people who have it and loads of people playing online, so you're not going to be short of opportunities to have that experience if you wanted it.
Yeah, I mean, I do think 8 is superior personally, but so if I did buy a 3DS right now, having owned 8, I don't think I would pick up Mario Kart, to be honest, just because there's so many other games out there that I think are better than Mario Kart 7. I mean, one suggestion I would have if you've just picked up a 3DS would be something like Luigi's Mansion 2. I think it's a really solid sort of adventure exploration sort of game. Great level design, some nice bosses. There's 5 separate mansions I seem to remember,
Yeah,
and
it's really atmospheric and actually makes great use of the 3D and it's just something really unique. I think that game deserves a lot more, and I think a lot of people kind of forget about it, but it was one of those really kind of much more early 3DS big hits, and is fantastic. It's really a game that you need to kind of remember is out there.
I think maybe an even bigger staple on the 3DS, you've already said that you've played some Mario games, would be 3D Land, which is a really, really impressive game. It's kind of hard to just summarize how awesome it is, but it's just really simple level design, I would say, but really effective and uses the 3D again really effectively. Would you agree with 3D Land,
Yeah,
MBJ?
I'm trying to think of some others that are kind of going with what he's played before. Maybe in terms of like Sonic stuff, I'm not sure. See, Lost Worlds is out, and I don't know if he's played that or not, but that is it's got kind of a mixed reception.
Yeah.
That didn't go down too well. Um,
You said you're planning on picking up Ocarina of Time as 3D as your first Zelda. It's quite. I'm speaking as someone who's not completed Ocarina of Time, but I have to say it's an incredibly long and meaty experience.
yeah,
And if you want something that's more just pick up and play Zelda and has great dungeon elements and some other great sort of dungeon design and great bosses and really interesting sort of level design compared to the other Zeldas, it would easily be Link Between Worlds
yeah,
because
yeah.
it's just so quick. It's really fast paced compared to any other Zelda game I've ever played.
It's definitely short, but I think it kind of condenses some of the fantastic elements about Zelda really down into that package. I'd say obviously Kid Icarus is a game that a lot of people had a lot of praise for. It had its issues back at that time, still does, and if you can get past the controls, it really is one of those spectacles, right? I still think it has the highest production values of any game on 3DS. It just looks stunning, and some of the stuff they do, you think, how are they pulling this off on a handheld? It's just fantastic, like amazing environments, and you're just rushing through them, and it's a hell of a thrill ride. So I would say that that's definitely something that's much more different genre-wise from anything else we suggested. It's kind of an on-rail shooter, and then it has kind of action elements on the ground as well, and definitely something if you want to step out of that kind of element. Kid Icarus is a fantastic shout. But yeah, I think there's some good ones, definitely.
But yeah, your idea of Fire Emblem Awakening, I'm sure MBZ will fully back.
I will back that, certainly. The Kingdom Hearts game I heard okay things about. I'm not quite sure. If you're a Kingdom Hearts fan, then of course by all means go ahead and get it. But I don't know. It's not really anything that I'm going to be going in for. But follow through and get it if it's so tickles your fancy. But yeah, I guess there you go.
So our final email this week is from Robert. Hey guys, I missed an episode of your podcast, so I'm not sure if you guys already discussed this, but how do you feel about how Nintendo dealt with their Club Nintendo rewards this year? I personally met the Platinum reward threshold and was disappointed with strictly digital reward choices. I ended up just downloading Donkey Kong Country Returns for the 3DS, since it was the best value for what was offered, even though I didn't really want it. It was just slightly more appealing than all of the other games, most of which I already own. That's how I got to Platinum status in the first place. Did you guys use Club Nintendo this year? If so, were you also disappointed?
Okay, so we heard a lot about this, like a month ago, was it, when this was happening? And all the American press was talking about it, and everyone in the US was complaining and like, oh no, we didn't get all this and that. Well, over here in Europe, in the UK, we get nothing. We we get nothing. See, you guys are over there complaining that you get only, oh no, we only get free games digitally. What a travesty. Well, let me tell you, people living in America, this is a damn sight better than what we get in the UK Club Nintendo, I'll tell you that for free. Because this shit doesn't exist over here. There's no platinum reward. There's no rewards. We get nothing. It's the bunch of tosh.
What I'm confused about, so in North America, do you just have to have, because I know they call them coins instead of stars. That's what you get with your rewards. Are you just investing? Are you just uploading all these coins, and then if you have a certain threshold of coins by the end of the year, you just automatically get a reward? Is that how it works? If that's how many you've saved up?
I think that's actually a bonus. Like that is
so it's like a bonus on top that we don't get.
Right, exactly. It's a bonus
man.
added to the fact that you can go into the store and spend the coins on some games that are available each month or some merchandise that happens to pop up. So it functionally is the same, but they get more than we do. And yeah, they're still bitching. So no, I do understand. I mean, let's approach this from their perspective, because I do understand a lot of people are annoyed because a lot of the time Nintendo have offered physical rewards and digital rewards, and then give people a choice as to which ones they want to do. And it does make sense that they are shifting this time and moving it towards digital for a few reasons. Number one, Club Nintendo is always getting bigger by the year. More and more people are starting to use it. More and more people are gaining platinum status or gold status, and that means that they have to spend more money on shipping rewards out to more people. And over time, if that builds up and it gets too much, then they are just going to be, it's too much of an operation to fulfill and to be able to do all that stuff. So they want to make it easier on themselves and make it all digital and give people more options to do so, which, some people only want those rewards anyway. And I think the second thing is that those rewards, historically, as far as I've heard from people, have just been getting worse and worse each year. Like, they've gone from being super cool statue stuff back in the day when not many people used it to, like, posters, and then slowly to, like, pins, and, like, then badges, and just basically just going down, down, down the roster to, like, the bare bones of cool physical products that they give out, and it's really just not too much at this point. So I guess that's why they decided, well, it's better we just give them games. What do you think, Bally? Would you have preferred a physical reward or digital? What would
I
you have
don't
gone
know. I
for?
mean, a sort of a free, well, not free, but you know how it works. A sort of
Yeah.
free end of the year Donkey Kong Country on 3DS sounds pretty sweet to me.
I mean,
But
yeah.
obviously, to get there, you need to spend an awful lot of money. The idea that you get something on top of the existing coins that you're going to spend on other stuff is a great incentive for me. But I obviously, us being in the UK, we don't have this shop. But just generally, Club Nintendo, I think by and large, it's a massive rip-off, and it's kind of like a nice little thing on the side. If you kind of think about it in the way of oh, I have to buy this many games to get this one thing that I want. That's a really bad way of going about it. I think whatever you get out of Club Nintendo you should just feel like it's a bonus.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
ultimately it is a bonus because you're paying a lot of money for a game. Plenty of people aren't registering those coins or those stars online, and they're missing out, obviously. But you're getting that nice little bonus, and just emphasis on the word bonus rather than like it's not like you're entitled to anything just for buying a game, in my opinion. I think it's a nice bonus that they've done for a number of years. I've gotten what's the coolest thing I've got from it? I've got a Mario Galaxy Platinum audio CD, which was nice. And I've got plenty of stars saved up, and I'm waiting to see what cool stuff comes into the European shop. And I'm uploading my stars when I get new games, and it's cool. It's a nice little bonus. But I think that the amount of outrage there was that there weren't physical rewards was maybe a little over the top. But obviously, I'm not someone experiencing the North American situation.
Yeah, yeah, and I think people, as this email kind of illustrates, were somewhat annoyed that, hey, I've bought a lot of these games that you're offering me digitally. Like, why don't you let me pick from stuff that I don't own already? Why don't you say, hey, you can choose anything on GBA on the Wii U Virtual Console, right? So that allows people to go and pick and choose what they want, as opposed to being like, hey, this is, here's Mario Brothers again, here's Zelda again, and these are the only choices you have, and you're kind of locked in there.
I mean,
Um,
maybe that there's some marketing reason where you know how, for example, with the Wii U Zelda bundle, you didn't get a hard copy of Wind Waker HD, you got a
yes,
digital copy, and as a result, Wind Waker is incredibly high up the eShop in terms of number of downloads. So maybe there was
right.
some sort of artificial, oh, we really want Donkey Kong Country Returns to go up a bit or something random like that.
I mean, same could be said for Game and Warrior. That's a game that definitely did not sell very well at
Yeah,
all, and
yeah.
so and I think actually that was one of the better choices they offered, simply because not a lot of people are going to want to go out and spend a whole $40 or whatever that thing cost on it, because it really is a very shallow minigame collection. But to put it on Club Nintendo, it's price wise, it's the best proposition out there. From all the games they offered, there was Donkey Kong and that. Those were the two ones that offered the best value if you wanted to get that from it. And so, I hope that some people would have felt that those were decent, and I probably would have picked Game and Warrior, honestly, if I'd had the opportunity, but I
And
didn't.
I mean,
So
I agree with you, MBZ, that the Club Nintendo as a thing has gone down in recent years. Like the shop, for example, in Europe feels a lot more empty and feels like it's topped up far less often than it used to be. And just simply some of the rewards are much they're just not as good as some of the old ones that used to be.
Well,
such
they've
as...
never been updated. They're still...
Yeah,
The
exactly.
European shop is still offering Wii and DSi shop cards. Like 100 and 200 point cards for Wii shop and Are you serious? This is 2014. Why are those still there? Like, it's simple things like that. They need to just go in and update it, and they've just kind of let it there to shit itself, and it's not doing too well. I'll tell you what. You need to take care of your baby, otherwise it's just gonna throw poo on the ceiling. It's just.
And I mean, we've not even, maybe that's a rant for another time, but the surveys you have to fill in the first place just to get these points.
Oh, don't talk to me about the fucking surveys, man. Don't. Oh, jeez. All right. Well, that's enough entitlement for one day. I think we're going to kick this segment into the horizon, and we will come back after the break with a segment discussing some of the leaks from Smash Brothers forthcoming. So do not go anywhere unless, of course, you don't want to be spoiled, in which case, feel free.
See you next time.
Yeah, see you next time. But if you are going to stick with us, then we'll see you after the break. Well, we return, ladies and gentlemen, here for your listening pleasure for the third segment, the final one on our show this week. And we shall be discussing some news that has come to light, or I'm not sure if I can really phrase it as news, more just...
A controversy.
Yeah, or something that may actually happen, may not, no one knows, it's all up in the air. I'm, of course, discussing the recent leaks for Super Smash Bros. For the 3DS. It's obviously on the Wii U as well, but these leaks pertain to the 3DS version specifically, and there is a reason for that. So if you haven't heard the story, essentially... I believe a few days ago, I'm not quite sure when the exact date was, but it was the middle of last week when some leakers on 4chan decided to post up some pictures of character select screens and some in-game footage, not recorded, but just some screenshots, and
some of the levels as well.
Yeah, some of the stages for Smash Bros. 3DS. And the interesting thing is that these included a lot of characters that had not yet been confirmed for the actual 3DS game or for the Wii U game at all at this point. And so people went crazy, there were some ridiculous things happening, and we're going to just break it all down, talk about it, and say what we will about whether we believe these leaks to be true or untrue. So, let's start off. Why did these leaks come out? First of all, as every game is wont to do, it has to be given over to a ratings board, and that for the USA is the ESRB, and I think actually is that for the UK ESRB? I think it's probably worldwide.
Yes.
I'm not sure.
If I just look at this, no, I think we're PEGI.
I think we are PEGI, yeah. So ESRB is for the US then. So they generally receive video footage of games before they're released so that they can take a look and review stuff and say whether or not it is appropriate to be put on stores, shelves, and whether or not the rating it's been given is appropriate. So essentially what happened is people who work at the ESRB or are involved in these matters concerning Smash Brothers took pictures of ostensibly 3DS units and posted them online. Now, the issue with this is that the pictures they posted show a lot of two screens side by side, which doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Because the 3DS is supposed to have the kind of the bracket in between the two screens, the
chunk of plastic,
the hinge. So people are wondering, hey, these aren't real. It's not on a real 3DS, but they could have been given capture device or something along those lines, and that's where the footage is coming from. So there's lots of different theories rolling around. Bally, let's just kick it off. What do you think about the legitimacy of these leaks, just from, just looking at them straight up?
Okay, well, I should say that the way I found out about it was through a pretty new YouTuber called, his full YouTube name is RelaxAAAAKS. And it's a bit of a funny name, bit of a tongue roller.
Yeah.
So he did a YouTube video, basically looking at the ups and the downs of whether this is real or not. And the way that he was framing his entire argument was eventually settling on the idea that he thinks it is real. And me being the very naive viewer of YouTube that I am, I kind of believed him, and I believed his arguments. I weighed the arguments that he was making to me, and I felt, yes, this is real. And then a few days later, I kept checking back into that video just to like read comments. I know, reading YouTube comments, absolutely crazy.
Dark place.
A very dark place on the internet. But I thought I'd give it give it a go. So yeah, a lot of the comments started appearing saying it's been proven as fake, it's been proven as fake, providing links. That's a very good tip for YouTube comments. Provide some useful links. Not links to other places, I hate those.
And don't link stuff that will ruin people's computers and virus them.
Those are bad as well. But I trusted these commenters and I clicked them, and there are some proof on forums. Well, not proof. Evidence.
I guess legitimate theories
exactly.
of disproving.
Theories of disproving, exactly. That, for example, someone found the exact image that the Dr. Mario was taken from. So that when characters are revealed as thumbnails, for example, one thing that lots of people who are trying to find the truth try to do is find where that person got the original image from, or whether they actually went to the length of designing an image themselves. So someone had found the Dr. Mario image, and that kind of suggests that it's false. So based on the evidence that's come forth since the leak, I'm personally now on the side of it's fake.
Okay. Well, I'll come back to that Dr. Mario thing later, because I have other things that I've looked at that prove that maybe that isn't the case. But before we dive into that, let's just kind of break down the character reveals that have happened here, the potential character reveals that have happened. So, going down the line, I think we'll start off with Wario, who hasn't been confirmed yet for the game, but people thought that he may return. Do you think it's legit that Wario could be back in the game, Bally?
Definitely. I think all the returning characters they've included in this game are pretty legit in terms of very realistic.
So those are Wario Ganondorf, I believe...
Game & Watch,
right.
Rob, Jigglypuff.
Robot, Jigglypuff, and Ness. And I think that's it. As far as I can... Oh, Dr. Mario, of course, who we just mentioned. Yeah. Falco, actually, as well. I don't think Falco's been confirmed.
Yes, Falco as well, yeah.
Right, so a lot of characters that people thought, not sure whether they're going to come back or not. Falco, I think, was kind of a shoo-in because there's only one character from Star Fox represented, being Fox. Ness had to come back, right? Like, he's a classic. He had to come back.
Jigglypuff has been in every Smash so far.
Yeah, the thing with Jigglypuff that I'm not really down with is Jigglypuff doesn't seem like a staple for me, just from the Pokemon franchise. I guess it makes sense because Jigglypuff at this point, I think, is kind of abstracted from Pokemon and is more a Smash character. Like, Jigglypuff exists within the Smash universe very solidly, so it does make sense that they would bring her back. And I mean,
back when the first Smash came out, I think it basically coincided with the anime in the West, of which Jigglypuff plays a huge role in.
It does, yeah, in many episodes.
In the
that's
first
true.
season or two, so must have been something to do with that, and it's just kind of stayed there.
I mean, yeah, that does make a lot of sense, actually. You're making a good argument there, but
these returning characters are really believable, I would say.
Definitely. I mean, Some exceptions there, like Lucas isn't obviously present. There's no returning of Mewtwo. People thought may be happening. That could still be possible, though. Down the line, because there, at least what the leaks look like, it tends to skew that maybe there are more slots available for characters that haven't quite been filled in yet. So that's still a possibility. However, more interesting than returning characters is, of course, brand new characters. So let's go those one by one, shall we? First of all, Bowser Jr. Bally, what do you think about Bowser Jr.?
I think it's Bowser Jr. has always been in that pretty sort of boring area, I would call it. Sort of the obvious Nintendo characters that are just kind of sitting on the bench waiting to get into Smash Brothers, I would say. Someone like maybe a Waluigi is maybe on that bench as well. Just kind of quite a generic Mario universe character that's just kind of gets squeezed out of games. I mean, he's been in Yoshi's Island, Mario Sunshine. I've run out of games already, to be honest. Mario Kart Double Dash.
Well, I
So
think the interesting thing about Bowser Jr. is you see it in his portrait because there is actually a like a close-up character portrait of him. There's not just a square of him on the screen. He does seem to be in his flying machine, like his kind of, what I guess you'd call it um, like a
is it
cradle.
like a
Not really.
clown copter or something it's called?
Yeah, that's what it's called. It's like Bowser has one as well,
Yeah.
but he's in the smaller one, and if he plays just inside of that, I think that could be really interesting. Like, if you take it from that perspective, then yes, I think that he is more of a legitimate addition to the cast than ordinarily he would be if he was just like a little Bowser on the ground, right? Because
Yeah.
otherwise he would just be some sort of clone. And this way, I think that maybe he, becomes something a bit more unique. Think that's something that potentially would be happening, or do you
I
think that
I
him
do
being in the
think
copter is going to be just only some of the time?
I think if his thumbnail does show the copter, then he would be in it. But I do think it's very weird that he wasn't in Mario Kart 8, and now
Yeah,
he would potentially be in a Smash Brothers game. I mean, it's possible.
sure.
It's just a bit weird. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess he does seem like he would fit much more nicely into Mario Kart 8, but we had too many freaking Koopas in that game. Jesus Christ! Like, that's Lemmy, Morton, Zimmy, I don't know their names.
Wendy.
I don't care anymore. I literally don't. Anyway, let's move on to the next one, who is, I believe, I can't tell now. Is it the Duck Hunt Dog? Yes.
That's the only other newcomer that's not a clone.
Right. So let's talk about the Duck Hunt Dog.
Oh, and Shulk.
Right. Yeah, but the Duck Hunt Dog comes first on the
Sure.
if you're going down the list. Um, I think this is the one that threw a lot of people. This is the one that when people looked at just that character select screen were like, this is bullshit. It's a dog. What's the dog?
It's not just the dog; it's the duck as well.
Right. But that's in a different screenshot. That came
Yes.
later. So the initial one was just the faces in the small squares, and there's this picture of a dog, and people are like, "What the this is bullshit, right? Like what? It's a dog. What? Come on, this isn't gonna happen." Then later on, of course, the full 3D render popped up of the Duck Hunt dog and the duck, and people lost their damn minds because this is like it really tells you that no matter what, you would never in a gazillion years predict what Sakurai would do with a new character in this game. Because what? Like, can you even imagine playing as a dog? Like, are they going to be a dual character like Rosalina and Luma? Are you just playing as the dog and the duck comes? Like, Bally, give me your thoughts. Spill your brain.
I love it. I really really love this idea. It's so out of the blue, which is partly why I love it.
Yeah.
We have seen a sort of dual character with Rosalina and Luma, and I can't even work out how this would work, but it's there.
Yeah.
Assuming this is real, which I'm not at the moment, but if it
Mm.
was, it's there, and
Those
it's
renders look hella good, man. I tell you what, if you
that's the
look at the
thing.
render of the Duck Hunt dog,
That this is one of the images that people were like, we gotta find that image, we gotta find that image, and as
yeah.
far as I know, no one has been able to find
Nope.
this image.
Yep.
So if this is fake, then that is some unbelievable like editing
Yeah.
to actually create these sprites, I guess you'd call them,
Well,
and the
3D models,
3D
yeah.
models exactly, and these 3D models in a perfect style that matches all the other 3D models confirmed for Smash Brothers. So
Yeah.
it's pretty
Yeah.
impressive if it is fake.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of scary, honestly. But it lends a lot of credence to the true argument.
It's
Um,
definitely the thing that hit me the hardest about this leak.
oh, definitely.
Easily,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure that
yeah.
would be with the same with most people.
Sure. I mean, there's precedent for kind of dual characters. There's Ice Climbers has been in Smash Brothers as well, and kind of notable from their lack of presence in this lineup. Actually, the Ice Climbers have been a staple of the Smash series for a while, and
Well, that's the thing
they,
is that the leaker then added a list of DLC characters,
yes, he
of
did.
which Lucas, Ice Climbers, uh,
Wolf, I think.
Wolf, yep. I'm forgetting who else now, but yeah. So it was just really weird, really weird.
Yeah. So that's the thing. The rest are really the. I mean, obviously, let's get to Shulk next because he's the next main one. Uh, I'm super happy. If this is real and it turns out to be true, then I think that Sakurai has done good work here. Shulk, of course, the main character from Xenoblade, now into the game if this happens, and I know that a lot of people are kind of sick of having a lot of sword fighters in this game, right? You got Link, you got Ike, you got Marth, you got Robin to a degree, you have Lucina now, you have Meta Knight, the Mii Fighter. The list goes on. There are a lot of sword using people in this game. Uh, and Shulk, ostensibly, would be another one, right? But there's a very interesting thing about Shulk, is because the sword he wields, the Monado, which is the centerpiece of Xenoblade, is very unique and it does a lot of interesting stuff. And for that reason, I think that he's going to have a super unique and fascinating moveset. And I'm actually really excited to see what that is if this turns out to be true, because he fits straight into the cast, and I think he would be a great addition. What do you think, Bally? How about Shulk?
Yeah, I mean, I've never played Xenoblade, but he's cool. It's
Yeah,
another sword user in my mind, but we'll see
you'll,
if your
I'll,
argument comes
yeah,
true.
I'll
And
tell
I
you
think
what.
regardless of whether this is real or fake, that Shulk is a very, very good bet
Yeah.
to
And
be
it's
in the
really nice
game.
to kind of cement him as part of the Nintendo universe, right? Because it does try, take that franchise and really make the IP, feel like a Nintendo. Even though it already is one already, but even more so. So after that, we have the two clones who are Dr. Mario and Dark Pit. Um, this is the part of the leak which depresses me, and I don't really want to be true, to be perfectly honest. I do feel that Sakurai's use of clones in the game, aside from Lucina, who I'm going to give a pass to because I'm shallow and I like Lucina as a character, so even though she is a straight up clone of Marth, I'm going to give her a pass. Dr. Mario and Pit don't strike me, or Dark Pit don't strike me in the same way, and I'm not a fan of having them in the game. I just don't like the idea that they're taking up slots that could be used by other
So
characters.
you'd be perfectly happy if they were just costumes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
undoubtedly. I think they should be really. Like I don't know what makes them so distinctive, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. It's one of those things that could be interesting, but
That's the thing.
I don't know.
Imagine if according to this leak, that they're in the game, but Dr. Mario now has completely different moveset to Mario. Would that help?
Well, that's the thing is he is going to be a clone by the placement of him in this character setup because he is next to the other two clones who are
Yes,
Dark Pit and
yes.
Lucina. So there is only so much different he can be than Mario, which is very similar to how he was in Melee, right? He was pretty much the exact same, apart from he popped pills instead of fireballs. And I feel like Dark Pit is going to be very similar to Pit, and Lucina like Marth. So that is something that kind of irks me, and I really kind of wish that clones weren't a thing anymore, but seems that they kind of are. So
one returning character we missed out that we should maybe talk about is Ganondorf.
right, what do you want to talk about with Ganondorf?
I'm just a little disappointed that it's Ganondorf and not some other
All right,
Zelda
all
villain.
right. Well, I mean, this is the thing.
Or Ganon.
He is such a mainstay of the series. He's the third part of the Triforce. He is the bad guy of Zelda. There's no way Ganondorf wasn't coming back. It would be nice to have an extra slot for an alternative villain, but as we saw recently in one of the recent picks of the day, Girahim is now confirmed as an assist trophy. We don't know about Zant, but I doubt he'd be added to the roster. So yeah, it doesn't seem like there's going to be any other bad guy popping his head in. Maybe there could be something interesting with Ganondorf's final smash relating to Skyward Sword,
Where
demise.
he's,
Something
yeah,
like
that would be cool. That would be cool.
So they could change that
would
up
make
because
for it a bit.
I mean, what they did in Brawl was heavily leveraged on Twilight Princess, right? So Ganondorf's final smash was Beast Ganon, which was one of the forms from the final boss fight of that game. So, in keeping with that tradition, if you gave him his final smash for him to transform into Demise and do stuff like that, I think that would make a lot of sense. So maybe in some way that will happen, Bally. You never know. Could be a thing.
I hope so.
Yeah, indeed. So there was some other stuff relating to stages that was revealed. A lot of these stages seem pretty interesting, but something that kind of makes them seem not so believable is the number of returning stages and the
10.
the lack of stages in general. So tell people about the returning stages, Bally.
Well, judging from the picture and Alex's previous video, stages such as I'm trying to look at the thumbnails now. Definitely Brinstar, Yoshi's Island, some of the Mario ones from Melee, the Pikmin stage from Brawl. So there's 10 stages in total that have just been plonked in right there with all the other new stages, and in my mind it's kind of, and I even felt this at the time when I did believe in this leak, that this was kind of a it just kind of made it obvious that it was fake to some degree, because I don't see why Sakurai would put in so many returning stages.
Yeah, and even if he did, you would think he would do what he did with Brawl, which is to separate them out in a separate menu screen,
which was really nice.
Them.
Like,
yeah,
really
it
nice.
was.
Yeah.
I mean, you see the WarioWare stage there. There's the Game and Watch. There's the Sonic stage returning. There's a lot of these, and it's like, hey, where are the new stages? There should be a lot of new stages. That's what we want to see. And maybe it's to do with him splitting resources between the two games, and the fact that maybe each game will have fewer stages as a result of them having to be unique on each system. Maybe that's the case. I'm not sure. Maybe that's why it is like that. But I think this is one of those things which makes you lean more towards the case of it being fake than it being real. So I don't know.
But more importantly, where do you now stand, having discussed the evidence?
Oh man, So the thing that makes this tough is just basically looking at the argument and then the count. Like, you were talking before about Dr. Mario, right? And how supposedly that image of him was found, like the character model was found. So the character model that is related to him is actually completely different. The stethoscope around his neck is completely different. The tie that he's wearing is shown in the other model and it isn't in this one. And there's a lot of other features that are distinctly differentiated from this one. Of course, someone could have done some photo editing magic and been able to go in there and fix things up, but it does look pretty damn good. It looks like a very good job that they've done with that, if it were to be a fake. And it just seems a little bit hard to refute at this point. It's just the consistency, It's really, I think the Duck Hunt is the one that nails it more than any other, is the consistency of the art style between that and the characters surrounding it, and it does seem to fit. Like it does, like a puzzle. It just seems to be a missing piece that's
So I
been locked
guess
into
we're going
place.
to have to agree to disagree. That I'm on the side of now fake, and you're on
Yeah,
the side of real. But
yeah.
here's another question: are you happy with it?
I'm pretty happy, and
What does it
I feel
need?
I feel like it does need like that last key
Ridley.
tenant, right? That last
That last
big giant
Ridley.
purple dragon thing. Yeah,
Yes.
actually, honestly, if Ridley was in, I think that would cap out a pretty damn solid lineup for this game. And there is room for him as we, look at this screen of character portraits. Seems like if you nudge it along a bit, you could fit in. You could basically cover the entire screen, and
54
at this point,
characters.
the entire screen is not covered. So I think that they are trying to make room for that, perhaps, and that maybe a DLC character thing will happen, and he may drop in. I don't know. Sakurai's just going to play with our hearts, isn't he? He's just going to toy with us until the very last second, and then he'll reveal some shit. And look, Sakurai knows that people want Ridley. Why would he tease us otherwise? Why would he undefinitively
Because
say
there's
anything
so
about
many
Ridley?
fans that say he's too fat to get into Smash and stuff like
No,
this.
God, Sakurai is teasing for a damn reason. It's because he's holding him back, and he is going to have him in the game. Then he's going to show him off at the last moment. I don't.
We'll
Oh
see.
God,
We'll see.
we'll see.
But you were
yeah, as I said,
explaining.
aside from the clones in Dr. Mario and Dark Pit, I'm pretty satisfied. Honestly, I think it's a great lineup and a lot of interesting characters in there. And hopefully, if DLC rolls around, then we'll be able to get even more. And I would be super happy for that.
Well, I was going to say I agree, and I think it's a great roster, but something like Ridley would tip the balance for me in saying this is a fantastic roster. And I was just also going to say you had a theory about how something could tie into the Wii U.
Right. So, talking about the DLC characters, if there are to be any, what I thought may be a possibility is supposing that the DLC characters will not be unlocked until the Wii U version comes out. So, what I mean by this is all of those characters will be available from day one on the Wii U to be unlocked. However, if you own the 3DS version, then you will be able to gain access to them either by buying them or if you already own the Wii U version, then by linking up the two systems. So this kind of covers Nintendo in two bases. It allows them to keep surprise and suspense for the Wii U version more than they would have had otherwise by having extra characters to reveal. It allows them to sell DLC characters to people who won't buy both games, and it also rewards people if they do buy both games by having the extra characters work across both of their systems. So, in all honesty, sounds pretty sound, but will Nintendo do that? I don't know. Sometimes they don't do smart things, so probably not. But it's a theory that I'm kind of banking on. I think that it may well come to pass. Um,
Yeah,
so
no, I agree. I think it's a pretty solid theory. It would sell Wii U's. I don't think that's disputable.
yeah.
And that's honestly where Nintendo need to go right now.
I mean, it seems like it would be fair as well, right? Because, if you're spending the whole $60 or the equivalent on the Wii U version, then you damn well want to get those characters for free across both of your games. And if you don't want to, well, hey, they'll still be available for you on 3DS, and you can just get them if you want. And if you don't, then fine, no worry. So yeah, I guess that's that. All right. Well, a lot of stuff there, a lot of stuff that we had to unpack, but overall, Smash is looking exciting. It is, in fact, I believe, only 2 weeks or maybe just over 3 weeks away in Japan. Japan are getting it first, of course, on like the 13th of September. So very, very soon we will actually know what the full roster for this game is, and we'll be able to dissect it and take a look and comment and all that good stuff here on the podcast. But that's going to be us for this week. We're going to wrap things up. Before we go, let's tell you all where you can find us on the internet. So, Bali, what can people do to find you on the web?
I am on Twitter at Ballyman91. That's BALLYMAN91. And I'm also that same name on the Miiverse. And I've decided I'm going to play Star Fox 64 in the next little while. So
Okay.
I'm determined to try and keep my progress up to date on the Miiverse. So go and follow me.
Excellent.
Go and follow me on there to keep up.
All right, fantastic. You finally have a game that you can talk about.
Exactly.
It's great. That's good. Get some screenshots on the go. You can also follow me on Twitter at Lordnbz. I'm on Miiverse also. Lordnbz is the name. Nice brand consistency is what we like to see. And yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to be playing, but maybe I'll be on there. I'll be messing around. I would like to give a shout out to the service that allows us to host this good podcast. That is Shout Engine, shoutengine.com. If you want to start your own podcast, they're not sponsoring us, by the way. We're using them as a host, but they're really good. They're really good. They give us a load of analytics and stuff, and they are very responsive and help to solve some issues that we had. So
they help us spy on you.
Yeah, exactly. Great, thanks, Bally, for that. No, if you're wondering how to get your own podcast up on iTunes, then I would suggest you check out shoutengine.com. You just go there and they sort out the back end. You upload your podcasts, they put it up on iTunes essentially, or they handle the areas that let you put it up on iTunes. So if you are someone who is looking to do that and can't find a way to do it without having to pay a load of money for server space and that kind of stuff, yeah, go and check them out. Also, we've had a new review on the iTunes. Bally, who has reviewed us?
So we received a review of 5 stars from Cheesy Mites 2000 on the UK iTunes store, and I'm afraid that your review is slightly too long to read out, but it is incredibly positive, and we would just like to say a massive thank you for this review, because it's pretty great stuff. If you do want to head on over to the iTunes store and check out this review, and just a shout out that if you would like to leave a review yourself, to head on over to iTunes and give us any stars you want. Let us know how we can improve, what you like about the show, what you don't like, and yeah, just keep it up.
Yeah, excellent. It was really nice to hear that, and thank you very much for doing so and taking your time. It is super appreciated. In any case, I think that we're about done here, Bally. Any last words you have before we?
Just remember to send some emails to nyppquestions@gmail.com, and also remember to tell us where you're from, because there are a few people just not telling us where they're from. And it's really important to create this podcast community.
You see, Bally has a giant map of the world on his wall,
I'm
and
ticking off the countries. We're working on Africa
pins,
just now.
He's got ropes. He's got string. He's pinning places together. He's like a crazy scientist trying to figure out a theorem. He wants to map our listeners. So if you want to oblige him, then feel free, because he's down with that kind of stuff. All right, well, it's been a show. It's been a long one. We're going to wrap things up here, but do not worry. We shall be, of course, back in a fortnight's time to discuss games, news, impressions, all the like, and everything from the world of Nintendo. So until then, thank you very much for listening. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
The musical interludes in today's show were the Overworld theme from Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island, copyright 1995 Nintendo, and Blue Skies White Clouds from Paper Mario Sticker Star, copyright 2012 Nintendo.
before or after outtakes?
I'll do it before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Charlie did, and that's hilarious. Charlie's listened to all our shows, and he never
Wait,
even.
what?
Yes.
Are you
He
serious?
has, yeah. And he never even knew that we had outtakes.
What? Did you
Yeah.
just turn off?
Yeah, he just turns off. When the music comes in, he goes, yep, that's me done. And then he turns. And I was like, Charlie, no, Naman's edited an outtake. He's like, what? Really? I'm like, yeah, just go on the YouTube playlist. It's probably the easiest way.
Yeah.
Just like you can listen to them. He's like, I will do that.
Oh, nice.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I do wonder how many people
All of this,
accidentally
no,
miss
no,
the
all of this.
outtake.
This is great. All of this has been recording. You should just include that just for Charlie.
Hi, Charlie.
Hi, Charlie. There you go. Have some of that. Right. We should get recording.
Yeah, we should. Okay.